Hey listeners, powered up by Mazer Group, this is the Turnin Dirt Podcast. I'm your host, John Mazer. Welcome listeners to the Turnin Dirt Podcast. We've got Jason Steinley here from Dutch Industries. Jason, thanks for joining us.
It's great to be here.
So what Dutch Industries, what's your position in the company, and maybe just give a brief description of what segments are involved in?
Sure, yeah. So my position with the company right now is VP of Sales Marketing. So we've got kind of a few different branches to Dutch Industries. We've got our agriculture division, which kind of encompasses our openers and our biospreader, which is a manure spreader. And then we've got a manufacturing segment. And then I guess industries is where it all started. Originally started in the 50s as a blacksmith shop. So
as a blacksmith shop?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, well, we're going to get into that then. Yeah. So, because as soon as I heard you were coming on, I was very grateful for one thing, but also every time I hear Dutch Industries, I always think of Dutch openers. Yeah. But that's is that kind of the main product of the company, or are you?
Yeah, it's our flagship product. It's something that we've kind of took on since. Started in the early 90s when the no-till farming started to pick up. There was a need for something a little different outside of sweeps and shovels and discs, right? They're looking for different ways of, tine or hoe drill style openers to go in the ground and offer a lower disturbing opener. And then, you start using your bare steel products for that. That stuff doesn't really last all that well. So you start experimenting with different products like high chrome castings and tungsten carbide, and we kind of just carved out a little bit of a market for ourselves in that area. So.
Nice, right on. So the value proposition, if you will, of the Dutch opener is that it's less soil disturbance when the seed goes in the ground.
Yeah, there's a handful of different companies out there doing some very similar stuff to what we're doing, and one of the things that we focus on is kind of the no-till side of it. Lots of people are reaching out to us, and would you look at bringing in discs or shovels or sweeps or that type of stuff? And for us, that's not really the direction that we're going. Like, we kind of look at ourselves as a bit of an aftermarket solution provider for the guys that are into innovating in the no-till farming sector, right? And so that's kind of the little market we've carved ourselves into.
Gotcha. So for our listeners, what is the advantage of the no-till system?
Well, I think the biggest thing of it kind of started back in the late 80s and mid 80s, I guess, where guys were looking for a better way. As my dad puts it, you're kind of getting sick of watching your soil blow across the road into the neighbor's yard, right? And so we grew up out in Empress, Alberta. We grew up in Alberta, and we farmed like a mile into Saskatchewan, just to kind of confuse a tax man there. But we didn't grow up we didn't have the best ground around growing up, right? So it was, you go back to the days of tumbleweeds and the fence rows and we talked a lot about wind erosion, water erosion, all that kind of stuff. And I remember as a kid, just with Dad, just thinking there's got to be a bit of a better way. And so, with no-till farming, I think it kind of ties more into a style of farming that you almost see the whole world starting to transition to, right? Yep. Like we got going on this in the early 90s in Saskatchewan, Alberta, Manitoba, North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana. As time went on, it's starting to kind of pick up, and 7 to 10 years ago, you start to see the UK farmers even adopting it. And these are guys who are getting 30 plus inches of rain a year, right? And now you're starting to see it move into France and into Germany and a lot of these other areas. And so I guess the idea behind it is just to retain all that nutrients into the soil, create a stable soil structure, and some stability within the soil and some good organic matter, and just kind of a good base to put your crop into the following year, right?
So I know two things about zero till. One of them is that the organic matter that's left behind after a harvest season, there's the stubble, if you will, that will wick moisture. Correct. So obviously, on a dry year. On the dry year, it's good because if there's, the snow's got to melt. So, if that stubble, or I guess the straw still in the ground, can wick a little bit of moisture, that's going to help you out there. That, and I think it was my dad told me that you get a bad wind on a freshly tilled field. Yeah. I think it was a centimeter of topsoil. It takes 100 years to create, but a day it could get blown away, right? So
Yeah, that's right. And so I think a lot of it was just looking ways to kind of retain that topsoil and keep it where it is, and start to build some nutrients into that soil, right? So incorporating that organic matter into it is huge, right? Like I remember just even kind of in the beginning of this when Dad and my Uncle Aaron were starting to experiment with different things. They were, we had this double disc drill that we built out of an old cultivator, and it was a fairly low till machine, and we're messing around with it. They're struggling with it, right? And all the other guys have got their discers. They yanked them across the field. The crop's in, right? And I remember Dad starting to get a little pissed off, right? Like
the vein in the forehead was coming out. There was a little smoke out of the ears.
Totally. And so, he got a couple of half tons parked at the end of the field, kind of watching like, what's this Steinley kid up to? And, and it's kind of funny. Those same guys were coming back in the fall and wanted to buy his magic seeds, right? So it was, it took time for kind of no-till farming to really take off, but that's something that we cater to at Dutch, and I don't really want to try and be everything to everybody. This is kind of the way we see the world going, right? And we've kind of picked our little spot in the market, and we're rolling with it.
And you're killing it, yeah, right on. So just on the topic of Pops, there, he's an advocate for no-till farming, is he not?
Yeah, you know. I could sit and kind of preach a little bit about my old man. I really see him as kind of one of the pioneers of the no-till farming thing. So he was, back in the day, there was a lot of different guys trying to maybe look at different ways, but there's when it comes to this kind of stuff, there's the innovators, there's the early adopters. Then there's basically it kind of starts to spread a little bit more mainstream, and then there's all the kind of the laggards, like the guys that kind of come at the end once, well, everybody's doing it, I guess I got to start doing this, right? But I put him as an innovator when it comes to the no-till farming side of things. We were so dry, and we got such little rain out there. The ground was not like we didn't have the heavy clay like they have down between Avonlea and over towards Francis, right? So we were dealing in some pretty light brown soil, and if you walked across that stuff, your footprints, the wind would blow and your footprints you'd lose an inch of topsoil just like that, right?
Yeah.
So how do you retain it? How do you kind of create some structure in that soil so it holds together? And so they started. He got tied in with this group in Kindersley back in the day, and it was just they had an office in Kindersley. It was a group of farmers, and I think the group was called Save Our Soils. And they just kind of, I know, right?
I like it. Yeah. I wonder what the Morse code is for that, because say SOS and Save Our Soils. I like,
So we, they didn't really know what the hell they were doing, but they knew there had to be a better way, right? And so it was basically a bunch of like-minded guys together that were all kind of shooting for the same cause. Got together, started testing different things on their farms and trying different things. And that led to his time with the Sask Soil Conservation Association. And, I remember as a kid, it was just basically a group of farmers with now there's some government money behind it. There's some U.S. guys behind it. There's some, well, my dad calls them like the smart guys, right? Like we were all dumb farmers, and then the smart guys came along and kind of helped put some science behind the ideas that we had, and started putting some of this stuff together and looking at different ways to do it. And so they came up with some no-till farming manuals, which I think are still on their website. And so Dad was, for I guess 1-year terms, he was on the board for I think a 3-year term, and then was president-elect, and then president, and then past president of the group. And they, I remember sitting in the back seat of the Ford Taurus station wagon, driving around all these different cities in the grain belt. And one of the stories I remember Dad telling me was when they came to Regina, and I can't remember what it was called before it was kind of the real group or entertainment area down there, but they came into one of those big boardrooms and they printed off something like 300 programs for the event that they were holding, and it was basically like a no-till farming seminar. And he said, I think we had 1,200 people for our first one, right? And we're scrambling, trying to figure like, we didn't think this many guys would show up. And so it started to take off, and you know what? I think they had a bit of a joke amongst the group that it was, they went from idiots to innovators in 5 years, right? But it takes some time for guys to kind of accept this, right? But it's how I take the same process when we're looking at designing new products for Dutch, right? When you're looking at new openers, we've got a great engineering group that have got a ton of awesome ideas, and and they're all looking at just, you go to trade shows and you're on farms and you're talking to guys and, oh, if I could this and, oh, if I could that, right? And so you got to take this all back and kind of process it and say, okay, well, where's there a market? What's really going to help? And if I'm going to go after these innovations, what's really going to kind of leave a lasting impression? And so we've come up with a few things here and there, and it's just kind of going through the same processes that they went through back in the day. It's trying to figure out how are we going to improve the way we do things, and is this innovation something that's a real thing, or is this something that we think 4 or 5 guys have asked for, and maybe
they're the only guys that ask for it.
Yeah, maybe we think there's a bigger market out there than what there actually is, right? And so a lot of that is really trying to gauge the market, talk to enough guys, have enough conversations, and one thing that we do, and we kind of really work with the Dutch is our On Farm for You program, and that's. It kind of, you went back to the pandemic when everything kind of hit. It was a really bizarre time, right? I remember my wife and I in January went down on a kind of a warm vacation, and everybody's joking on the plane about this COVID, right? And you see a few people with masks, and you're like,
what the hell are they doing?
Is this a real thing, right? Like,
they did the same thing, yeah.
And you come home, and I remember it was February, and I was like, I'm going with my kids to sharpen their skates at Sport Check, and I get there and I'm coaching this hockey team, and I'm watching these players are dropping off. They're not coming anymore. I'm like, there's 1, 2, there's my forward, there's my holy.
You were gonna have to dress up and play.
Yeah, we're losing guys, right? And by the time I dropped the kids' skates off, went to the car wash, and came back to pick the skates up, the whole season was canceled. It was done over, just like that, right? And I think, okay, maybe there's something to this, right? We get back into to work, and we're in the ag industry. We're an essential service. We keep rolling down the tracks. We never really missed a day, a beat through it all. Other than a few people getting sick here and there, and things kind of came to like a screeching halt. All of a sudden, it was like, oh, okay, this is bizarre. Like sales, you're talking sales wise, right? It was like, this is kind of scary. Like everybody kind of went into, we don't really know what's going to happen mode, right? And then I think it was around March, everybody kind of just said, well, wait a second, like spring's coming, we got to put a crop in. And
like that has to happen.
Yeah. I remember talking with Dad and social distancing, I've been doing that for years, right? No problem. So everything all of a sudden in March is just like somebody flipped the switch off in January, and it flipped back on in March. And it was gangbusters since then. And, things have kind of softened a little bit here in the last 6-8 months, but still going strong.
Right on. Good stuff. So, take me back to or as much as you can anyway, on what you know about like the origins of Dutch Industries.
Yeah, it's kind of a neat story. And the best way for me to learn, it wasn't even so much working for Dutch. For the first 7 years, I was a territory manager on the road, and my sales manager had decided he was kind of ready to retire and kind of step away from the 8 to 5 Monday to Friday, and kind of put my name forward. And we come into the office, and I thought, we start digging through the archives, and I start finding these old pictures, like old black and whites, right? I'm like, there's a really cool history to this place. And so it started with Peter Cruson was the founder of Dutch Industries, and it started like this was already a blacksmith shop in Holland back in the days, and in the 30s, and they kind of went through the war, and things weren't really that good back then, and there wasn't really a lot of room to grow, and Canada kind of offered something that they didn't have back in Holland. And so he came over on his own in 1950, and I remember Irene Cruson telling me a bit of a story about, I think the first winter he brought the family over in 52, they had like 9 feet of snow. Like this
wonderful. Yeah.
And I remember seeing these pictures of these kids standing in the snowbank, and it was level with the roof of the house, right?
No kidding.
So coming from Holland, but you know what they did know how to do is they knew how to work hard. They knew how to kind of put their best foot forward, and they're good communicators, they're good relationship people, and we know how to work hard. Let's go over to Canada and see if there's a business for us out there. And so they dabbled in farming a little bit, but the blacksmith shop, so Dutch Blacksmith, started kind of on the north side of tracks, downtown Regina in 1952, and it just kind of grew from there. In the early 90s, they moved out to the facility that we're currently in Pilot Butte. And we've kind of been growing. So there was an addition later 90s. And there's been every single different kind of like when you're a blacksmith shop, traditionally it's everybody and their dog comes to you with all kinds of different stuff, right?
Yeah. Can you make this for me?
Yeah. Can you do this? Can you shoe my horse? Can you, you know, and we've had all kinds of requests from, can you build garden gnomes for us, to build this staircase to this railing to, so you're kind of a bit of the jack of all trades. And in about the last 4 or 5 years, Greg kind of asked me to take over sales for the company. I started looking at all of our different customers. So on the custom manufacturing side, we haven't really touched on that, but we had well over 100 customers, and we were involved in oil and gas to everything from, if a gal came in and wanted to build a mausoleum in his backyard for his wife, right? Like it was, and we just said yes to everybody, right? And I said, well, this is crazy. Why are we doing this, right? How can we really be good at anything if we're doing so many different things? And so
a lot of one-off stuff, right?
So I said, let's kind of pick our favorites. Let's kind of define what we're good at, and what we're good at is making small parts repeatedly. And so let's focus on that. And so we started going through the customer list and saying, okay, well, you know what? These are the 5 guys, there are 10 guys that we've been working with for the last 15, 20 years, and we've got really good relationships with them. Let's see if they're looking for more. And at that time, manufacturing was wild. Everybody was kind of hunting for additional capacity. And so we kind of cut our list of 100 down to 20, and then down to 12, and then down to 7.
Oh, wow.
And then we're down to 4 customers on the custom manufacturing side right now.
Gotcha. And they're doing all one-off stuff, or are you making
I'm making high volume, easy, consistent, repeatable parts for these guys over and over and over again, right? And that's
good business.
You can get into a good rhythm. Nothing. A welder doesn't like coming in and this day you're building this day you're building that. If he knows exactly what he's coming in to do that day, and it's not a surprise, he doesn't have to relearn something every day. He walks in, okay, I know exactly what I'm doing today. I'm doing this, and then I'm going home, right? So it's working really well for us. We've partnered with some really good local manufacturers who are looking for some additional capacity, and then working on building our own. We used to be tied with a UK company where we're manufacturing their manure spreaders for them. That contract kind of came to an end, and we thought, well, hey, there's some things that we liked about their machine. They designed a good machine, but it was more so designed for the European market. It was narrow and tall to kind of manage the roads over there. So what can we do to build something that caters a little bit more towards the North American market? So we kind of designed one of our own machines, and we call it the Dutch Biospreader, and that's now turned into 2 models, and it's wow. I think we've got about 30 dealers across Western Canada, and it's been an excellent machine for us. We're really doing well with it.
Yeah. And so it's a manure spreader, sorry?
Yeah, it's a manure spreader.
Oh, good stuff. Right on. Yeah. What's the facility like in Pilot Butte?
It's funny when you walk in the front doors, it doesn't have a real flashy appeal to it. It's not a lot of glass and shiny new office furniture. What we've done for years is we've really focused on the people, the build, the machines that we need to do the work, right? And so when it come time to buy this or buy that for the back shop, it wasn't really much of an argument. And we've been dealing with fairly basic office stuff in the back and fairly basic office systems. And so over the years, it's in the last few, we've kind of been focusing on just updating our facilities. Like after the pandemic hit, we so much so quickly that our biggest problem was washrooms. We didn't have enough washrooms for people, and we went from 80 to 160 people in about 2 years. And now there's a lineup at the bathroom, and we're renting heated portable washrooms for the outside. So our first goal was, well, let's build 1,000 square foot washroom facility.
And a beautiful washroom facility.
So we've got a fantastic new washroom
I like
facility.
that the best part of their facility is their washrooms now.
You go in the front door, nothing shiny, but you walk into these bathrooms,
they're beautiful.
It's like, oh my God.
Guys, I wish I could argue with you, but that's really kind of how it is. But we've actually, next step for us is kind of taken, how do we take care of the people, make sure that everybody's comfortable? So, you know what? Hey, us guys in the office, we can manage with what we've got. We're making a few little strides there. Next step is a really good lunchroom, right? And we've got expand on our manufacturing footprint, because we've got more manufacturers coming to us and say, hey, we want to utilize your building, your facilities. We've got work for you, and we're kind of busting at the seams. So next step for us is we're actually about a third of the way into 14,000 square foot expansion in the back shop. So basically it's a kind of a 3-sided unit that connects to the current back shop. And in there is going to be I think we're going to be about a 4,000 square foot lunchroom for everybody. And so it's the structural steel's up and it's starting to kind of look like something. And
right on. So it's in the works right now then. It's happening.
And the goal with that is just we want to take our opener business, because we've built this business over the years that it's kind of, all of our product takes a bit of a lost dog route through our shop, right? There's nothing that really runs in like an old Henry Ford straight assembly line, right? And so we're focusing on trying to create some efficiencies that way. So the goal is, if our building that we're looking at is going to be like 292 feet by around 50 feet, or just a little under 50 feet. Raw goods come in one side, finished goods come out the other, and everything kind of happens.
Simplicity,
nice linear process, right? So it's well underway.
Good stuff, right on. So with the size that you have right now, obviously you're making it bigger, going to streamline the opener side of things, put it in that new addition. Like, would you say the facility is at 100? Like, what metric would you use to say, is it at 100% or 100% efficiency?
Efficiency or capacity?
Capacity is the word. How about that?
Capacity is the word you're looking for. I'd say we're clicking on about 90% capacity right now. There's always little things you could do here and there.
Sure,
There's maybe little pieces of equipment that we're holding on to that we're not using as much as we could, and that we get that out, we can gain a little bit more capacity. I think a lot of it comes down to picking your partners, right, and deciding who you're going to move forward with. And once we've kind of made that change, it's really allowed us to kind of spread our wings and fly. So it's been good.
Nice, right on. Are you still looking and are you still open to taking on those customers that are, getting you to build product or parts that are, coming in on a massive volume scale? Or do you think are you holding steady for now and just what you got?
We're fairly steady right now, and we're a little bit bound by capacity and some of the agreements we've got in place with some current manufacturers. But you know what? You're kind of foolish to lock the door and say, you know what, we don't really want to have that conversation with you. So I think, are we open to having conversations and learning about some needs from other potential customers? Absolutely. You never really want to slam any doors on that kind of stuff.
No, definitely not. Yeah, especially when the facility's there, it's operating, and perhaps something an idea or a product that comes through the door is closer. Maybe the same machines can be used. I'm not sure. I got to get over there for the 10-cent tour with you to see what's going on. But you never want to say no to business. That's for sure. So, what are Jason's origins? I know you told me you grew up in Esteem.
Empress.
I don't know where I got Esteem from.
That's a pretty good name for a town, though.
It is, though, isn't it? Somebody should start a town.
Esteem.
Pretty solid, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Everyone's like sad and depressed and don't love themselves. That did work out well.
Yeah, and everybody would be moving out before they moved in.
Yeah, there'd be like 100 memes.
That's exactly right.
I was born in Lloydminster, actually, so it's kind of funny. There's two towns on the Alberta-Saskatchewan border that literally have property on both sides, and I was born in one and raised in the other. So moved to Empress when I was like 6 months old, and Dad was coming home to take over the family farm, and so my dad and his brother Aaron kind of got involved in that, and we were up until like the late 90s. It was around a 5,000 acre farm by the time we're all said and done. I got farm life wasn't necessarily going to be the life for me. I liked working on the farm. I enjoyed getting out there. Back before the no-till farming, we were planting tons and tons of shelter belts. I think we planted 23 miles of shelter belts when the government was giving away Caraganas, and we'd sit on the tree planter and pounded those things in. And my job was to take care of those. And I was driving grain truck and that kind of stuff. Like,
did you know at a pretty young age though that the farm life wasn't going to be your path?
Yes and no. I kind of had higher aspirations. Sometimes when you kind of grow up in, I'm not going to call Empress the middle of nowhere, because I've got a whole new respect for it now, a different respect than I had when I was 16 or 17 growing up, right? But at that time, everybody was going west, right? You're going to Calgary, or Medicine Hat was our next closest city, and so spent lots of time on the farm. I remember sometimes even when you're in a small town, Empress had a 1 to grade 6 school, and then we went to Kitty Valley for 7 to 9, and then we got bused to Oyen for 10 to 12. And I remember the bus driver driving home and just stopping the bus in the middle of this grid road and opening the doors, and that was my sign to get out. And there's my dirt bike sitting in the ditch with a note in the helmet, go to this field. We used to name all of our trucks and fields and everything.
Way.
So
yeah, so you're going to work.
Yeah, Dad,
and there's
say,
your ride.
Go grab Ben and head over to Forks Field, and we'll empty the truck, and I'll meet you over there, and you can do your homework in the cab of the grain truck.
Sure,
right? So, So that's just kind of what you did, and I didn't mind that side of it. But on my mom's side, there was a whole different business side to it. My grandfather in Oyen owned at that time it was called a Tomboy Foods, had a home hardware store and a restaurant, and so I was going to high school in Oyen, and so I was building bicycles in the home hardware and scraping pork chops in the butcher shop and the grocery store and all kinds of fun stuff. And so kind of got to see a little bit of all sides of it. And I'm not going to lie, at that time, the business side looked a little flashier than the farming side, right? Like farming was hard work, and, Grandpa went to work with shiny shoes on every day. And I thought, well, maybe that's a little something. So, out of high school, I got involved with Fountain Tire and kind of worked my way up through the ranks there. And I was in Medicine Hat for quite some time, assistant manager at a store there. And then I moved out I got my own store in Penticton. And so headed out there. I was out there for 5 years, and met my wife originally in Medicine Hat, moved out to Penticton. And at that time, she had went out to Vancouver to go to school. And so we were fairly close to each other. She finished school, moved back in with me in Penticton. We bought our first house, got married, had our first boy, Jake. And then we were kind of just trying to decide, it's beautiful out here, but there's really no industry. Like logging was kind of in the tank. It was tourism. So you're in a small town that kind of quadruples in population over the summer. It's anybody who's ever been out there, you got a beach on this end of town, you got a beach on that, you got a great channel you can float that kind of connects the two. And it was an awesome place to be. If you're young and single, maybe that'd be where you want to go. But trying to set roots and figure out where we're going to go. And was this the right thing for us? So I'm putting in a lot of time running our own business. And so, let's look at heading back home, right? So where's home, right? My wife's born and raised in Regina. I'm looking at Empress. We lived in Medicine Hat, Calgary, and we thought, well, let's move to Regina. And we've got a good support system there. So we left Penticton on December 21st, and it was 6 above. We pulled into Regina. It was 33 below. I remember driving in there with the 4Runner, and I got a 3-month-old, and we're stopping every an hour and a half to feed this guy, and I'm like, can't you just feed him while we're driving? Right? And we're almost there.
Your life flashed before your eyes when you hit Regina, right?
Experience Regina. So
that's right. Yeah.
So we got out here. You know what? And I'm not going to lie. For about the first 6 months, I was kind of feeling a little sorry for myself. Right? I left a pretty nice place where I skied and golfed on Christmas Day before, right? And here we are in Regina, and we're building a house, and I'm living in my in-laws' basement. I'm thinking, what the hell have I done? Yeah. But you know what? If I look back now, I stayed in the tire industry for a couple of years, and then I remember applying for this job out at Dutch Industries, and I'm thinking, well, I haven't been on the farm in years. I don't really know much about it. Everything's changed so much since I've been there. They're looking for a territory manager. I can talk, I can communicate well. I've got a good salesy background here, but I don't really know a whole bunch about this. And so I remember going out there and the first interview and thinking, wow, lots of shiny looking guys coming in after me. I don't know if I got it. And then I get called back for a second interview. And at that point now, the second boy's on the way, and he says, well, can you come in on Monday? I'm like, oh, actually, we got a scheduled C-section on Monday, but how about Tuesday morning? And he's like, well, I'm off to vacation that day, so come in early in the morning. So my second son was born at 4:30 on a Monday, and I went in for the job interview at 8:30 on a Tuesday morning, and then got home, cleaned out the truck from the other company I was working for, and started with Dutch 10 days later. I'm at Lethbridge at a farm show and kind of learning the ropes, right? And so was on the road, covered southern Saskatchewan, southern Manitoba for about 7 years as a territory manager, and loved that. Put on a ton of miles, met a lot of great people. We cruised around to every farm show that I'd been cruising around to as a kid, right? And it was kind of felt good to be back in the industry, right? And I think it would have been about 4 years ago. My boss at the time was ready to kind of move on, and we talked a little bit about this. But he was saying, "Well, I think you might be the guy to replace me, but it's not really my call. I'm moving on, and so you're going to have to sit down with the owner and decide if you guys are the right fit for each other."
Right.
And so, yeah, and the current owner and president is Greg Cruson. So we sat down, we had a few good chats, and yeah, it just seemed like a good fit. And, one of the things too is that I'm working with this group of I'm one of 5 territory managers, and we're going to all these shows together, and we're getting to be a fairly tight knit group. And all I could kind of really think of is that, what, I could have an opportunity to have a bit of an impact on these guys' life. And what happens if I say no, who's going to come in next?
That's right. Yeah.
And now I'm working under this unknown person, and what if it's different, and what if I don't like it, right? So I have a bit of an opportunity to create my own destiny and create the future for the guys that I've been working with for a while, and a really good group of guys. So I took the job, and we just started kind of pounding away and
plugging away. Yeah,
it's been good.
Nice. So. He's a bit of a leader. You can tell.
Man, it looks, Jason, like it looks like you've had your whole life planned out for you since you were 4 years old or something.
It's funny. You kind of have this plan when you're a kid, and if you would have told me years ago that I was going to be working at Dutch Industries and building shit spreaders and openers, I would have told you that you're crazy. I'm going to be a professional hockey player, and that's what I'm going to do, right? But where I ended up couldn't have worked out better from where I came from, and just the tie to the roots for my wife being close to home, and just everybody says, "Oh, you're crazy for leaving Penticton," but I can't tell you how good of a move it's been for us. February 28th when it's 30 below, do I feel the same way?
Nobody likes that, though.
Sure,
Right?
right?
You take the good with the bad.
But our boys have been involved in hockey, and we've kind of met some really great people through that. I've coached them just about every year, and so there's just been some really good connections made that way.
Nice. How old are the kids? Sorry to interrupt you.
So Jake's 14 and Milo's 10. So
right on.
So actually, once I'm done here, I'm gonna rip into town, pick up Milo from school, and we're down to the Cooperators, and he's playing in the big rink tonight.
Oh, so nice! That's exciting. Yeah, right on. They enjoy hockey.
No, I love hockey.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's something that was kind of important to me growing up, and just with hockey's just such a big part of the province, right? Like it's such a great way to get out and meet new people, and it's good to kind of get you off your ass in the winter. Regina too, right? Like, there's a new Netflix series that started, or we're at the rink in a half an hour. So you can kind of settle into a bit of a funk in the winter here.
You can,
And so to have something that kind of forces you out of the house and keeps you moving, keeps you active is good. So
it's very easy to stay in. I know that, and I'm a huge Netflix fan too.
Oh yeah,
it's. We kind of have similar stories in moving to Regina, and I'm going to say to both of you, admittedly, I thought Regina was like the armpit of Canada since I was a kid, right? Yeah. But my wife spent 6 years out here, and then we met up at a drinking hole in Brandon, and I wasn't taking no for an answer that night, and so
similar story for us there too.
Is that right? Oh, perfect, right on,
instead of Brandon, but,
right on. So I convinced her to move back to Brandon, and she was always raving about Regina and how awesome it was. I'm like, bullshit. It's fucking Regina, So anyway, we came out a couple of times, just for visits with some friends, and caught beer bacon bands the one night. It was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
And it was fun. It was and it wasn't the armpit of Canada, I can tell you that much. Moved here in March of 2019 when we acquired Marcus in New Holland, and I love it here. Yeah, I love this. I love the city. It's a perfect size. It's got all the amenities that one would want, and I'm a 10-minute drive to work, and
I know you're living in the city.
Yeah. I'm just on the east side of town there in the Greens.
So I actually just moved from the Greens, but I was there for the first 12 years we were in Regina, and driving out to Pilot Butte every morning when everybody's kind of coming into town, leaving. Yeah. If I had to go downtown Regina every day, I don't know if I'd be as keen on that, but but it's nice to it's a perfect size city. Calgary was awesome, but it was crazy huge, and it was an hour to get anywhere, and you couldn't leave the house without a $50 bill in your pocket, and Vancouver was $100 bill, and even longer to get anywhere. And Medicine Hat was nice, but a little bit of a retirement town, a little bit slower there, and Regina's just kind of a good mix, right?
Yeah, like a happy medium. Yeah, I know. I mean, pulling out off of Chuka onto Arcola. Yeah, like if you're like 8:15, 8:30 in the morning, it's like bumper to bumper there. Yeah. Yeah, that's like the only time of day. That and at 5 o'clock going the other way. But other than that, usually you can get around 5-10 minutes anyway.
Great. You put on your little talk radio on the way in.
That's right. Yeah, or a podcast.
Yeah, or
put on the Turnin dirt.
Yeah,
a little Turnin.
Man, I work from home, so I get to usually pick when I go. But even coming out here today, like noon, 8 and 5, I haven't had a job that I've had to drive in those times for years.
Yeah,
but it's wild the difference even in Regina for traffic.
Yeah.
Like in amongst those times, like you're pretty free.
Yes. Yeah. It's not bad at all. And like, I mean, the longer you stay here, the more shortcuts you figure out and that sort of thing. But yeah.
Well, if you ever seen a Dutch truck going in and out of the greens?
Yeah.
That was me.
That was you.
I might have seen an SUV with a Markson's logo on the side.
Yeah. Or a Mazur Group logo.
Sorry, Mazur Group. That's right.
Oh, yeah. It was the guy speeding. Yeah. So he was speeding by you or pulled over by the cops.
That's right. Yeah.
Right on. Well, we're going to lighten things up here, Jason. Thanks you for the background and all the information on Dutch Industries. Producer Jay is going to take us through a couple of what we call segments.
Yeah,
I'm not sure which ones he's picked yet, but he's going to explain it to us.
I got a few. It's they're pretty simple. This one's just a would you rather. A few of these.
Gotcha.
I'm going to go grab my water. I'll be right back here.
Okay. Would you rather be famous and a billionaire, or unknown and be a billionaire?
So I played this game with my kids often, and there's lots of on the way home from hockey would you rathers.
Okay.
And I think on that one I would probably not be famous and be a billionaire.
Yeah.
Because what happens to all these famous people?
Not good things a lot of times.
Like they all kind of tend to, I don't know, overdose on drugs or die off from this, that, or the next thing, right?
So or get attacked for being famous. Yeah.
Sure, right? If I could kind of hide it in the back 40 and have lots of money to do what I want, I think that'd be okay.
I'd want to be under the cover of darkness too.
Yeah.
Like I'd just be nonchalant, like nobody knows you. The other side of that is like, I mean, with all the fame, it comes like not being able to go anywhere.
Yeah.
And also like you're going to have people asking you for money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they know they got that much,
And if you got billions, you probably got a little to go around, right?
Sure,
I'm sure that would get
but not every
fast,
Tom,
right?
Dick, and Harry, right? Like, I mean, spread it around with friends and family, but
of course,
there's like I don't know what the stat is. I'll have to get this on the screen later. But there's like a stat of how many people have won the lottery and gone bankrupt, lost it all.
Huge.
And I don't know if you guys know the number, but it's a staggering amount.
Yeah.
Like I'm not saying the majority,
no,
but it's for
up there,
someone
though.
who gets the gift of money.
Yeah.
And a financial advisor could probably lead them into the promised land.
Yep.
How quickly it can be lost.
It can go.
So,
yeah.
Money's dangerous.
You see sports figures do that a lot. Like it's very common in boxing and very common in the NFL. Like, I mean,
the NFL.
yeah. Like, I mean, all of a sudden, like the, straight out of college or not out of high school, I think they got to put a couple of years in some sort of league, but you get into the show and you got this massive pipeline of money coming in and like, but when it's over, like it just stops. Like, I mean, there's no.
Well, the issue is a lot of athletes enter when they're in their youth.
Yes.
So they really don't understand that the government takes 30 to 50% of that.
Right. Yes.
So $1 million isn't $1 million; it's 500.
Yeah, that's right.
And a lot of times they don't have the foresight. And a lot of, I think, I shouldn't even say just athletes. I think a lot of people don't have the foresight that the position they're currently in financially now is not guaranteed to be in the future.
Right.
No.
Things happen. I've seen, like we were talking about earlier, myself, other people, careers change, lifestyles change, circumstances change. You kind of have to plan. And that planning, you don't know how long your career is going to be. You're not used to making that kind of money. So, I mean, anyone out there that's going to win the lottery or thinks they're going to win the lottery, get a financial advisor right away without giving any to your family and without talking to anybody about it. Get a financial advisor.
Well, you can tell them that, like, hey, I want to share this a little bit. And, but they'll tell you how to do that. And
they will. Yeah.
You just need the help for people that aren't good with money.
Well, let's hope I have to make that call.
Yeah, that's right. We'll have to make that call.
Yeah. Imagine being like 89 and winning the lottery,
Oh, man. Yeah.
You never get the money when you need it. But
No, that's right.
No, it's like senior discounts, right? It's like, what about young couple with new kids discounts?
There you go.
Never see that on the
There you go. Yeah. Okay, next one. Would you rather have the power to heal any illness or disease or prevent any war?
I think there's enough fear about what could really happen if war went like full gangbusters in this day and age.
Yeah.
That if you could, there's disease seems to be such a thing. Like,
Yeah.
If you could cure cancer.
Yep.
Oh
That's
my
what I'm
God.
thinking.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Right?
You'd need the financial advisor.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
would. You would.
You know, like,
Yeah.
that's winning the lottery
Absolutely.
right there. Yeah.
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 But there's so much of that going on. And as you get a little older, and I don't know, I'm 45 years old, but you start looking at friends and parents of friends, and a lot of people are affected by this stuff. Like
Yeah.
it's a big thing. And my dad's kind of going through some stuff, and
Yeah.
all my grandparents have both gone through it, and grandma had dementia. And you just look at all that and you see what it does to people and how it affects them. And if you could change that,
Oh man. Yeah.
you're right. You need a
That's a really good
financial
point.
I agree. I think I'd go illness.
Yeah.
Because illness to me is not man-made. There's something
Right.
that, needs fixing. I think with war, you could say you're going to prevent any war, but people are going to find a way to
Right.
do that anyways.
Exactly.
again.
Yep.
But I think an illness, if you could really eradicate it, I think that could be forever.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
we're all the same there.
Maybe we're too young to really answer that question
Yeah.
properly either. right?
I've never been to war, so I'm probably not being as empathetic as it would be to witness
Right.
that. So,
Yeah.
and we're probably pretty lucky to be in Canada where,
Yes. Yeah.
not saying there hasn't been wars, but
No, but it's pretty safe here.
peaceful here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Next one. Would you rather explore outer space or the depths of the ocean? Oh, both scare me. I'll tell you that.
Yep. Both scare. Well, the ocean scares me.
More than outer space.
Yeah. Yeah. There's just something about the depths of deep lakes and the depths of the ocean have always given me the heebie-jeebies, because you think in the middle of the ocean, you're so insignificant on the surface. We're talking tens of thousands feet below you is the bottom, tens of thousands of feet,
Yep.
And I think the deepest place in the ocean is Marianas Trench, and I think it's 42,000 and change feet. But that's that's the height that commercial airliners fly at. You look out the window there and how far the ground is down. That's how deep the ocean is.
Wow.
Think of everything that's going on in between you and the bottom there. It's eerie.
That's the part that kind of intrigues me. I'm a bit of a nerd over the Titanic, and I like to go down and check some of these old shipwrecks and see Titanic. That to me is just something else, right? I bet you would see things and creatures down there that you would just never could even imagine, right?
Yeah.
And maybe you'd find the same thing if you went way the hell out in outer space. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I think I'm gonna. If gun to my head, I got to pick ocean. I'm keeping my feet where there's gravity and where there's
Gotcha. Yeah.
where there's some walls around. And,
Yeah.
But I both are a little creepy to me.
Yeah. The original question was explore the ocean.
Would you rather explore the depths of the ocean or
Yeah.
outer space? Yeah.
Here's another thing to keep in mind. I was listening to you guys heard of Neil deGrasse Tyson. So crazy information coming out of that guy. I don't know if it was him or somebody that was on his show or whatever, but for example, the amount of space that we've explored, we take the ocean and pretend the ocean and the whole world is the galaxy, as far as pretend that's the galaxy. Do you know how much the galaxy we've explored in relatively the size of the ocean?
Probably an ounce.
One cup of water.
Yeah, that's
how much we've explored if all the space is the size of the ocean.
wow.
To put that into perspective, it's crazy.
It's crazy. It's frightening.
It's frightening.
When I think about exploring space, so I guess my question, can I come back from either, right? Can I go down to the bottom of the ocean and come back? If you can guarantee that, then I'd love to do both, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like if I go out into space and something goes wrong, I just float away.
Yeah, you're
forever
done.
and ever and ever.
So do you-
Nobody
so-
sees you again.
With your comments on the Titanic, do you understand why those 6 guys went down to see the Titanic? In the back of their mind, if they thought that sub was safe,
I do to a point, but a lot of it is, I think it's just, you can do it, so you're going to do it, and you can say you've done it, right?
Right. Yeah.
Are you that curious about it? I remember as a kid, we didn't have a whole bunch of cash, and my younger brother was quite sick growing up, and he had a handful of different surgeries by the time he was 10 years old, and so we went to Calgary, and we were at the Ronald McDonald House. And I remember that was the first time they had sent an unmanned ship down to go check out the Titanic.
Yeah.
And they were flipping around through this thing, and it was the movie had just come out, right around that time. And it was holy smokes, this is cool. And you look at all the different cabins, and you just think of the the luck of I seem to remember either some grandparent on some side was like, we came to Canada in 1913. Do you remember what year that ship went down?
1912.
1912. So I seem to think that one of my ancestors was supposed to be on there and either couldn't afford it or it didn't work out or something along the lines of that. So maybe I would have never been here if they would have, right? But just intrigued by the story, intrigued by all of it, right? Like it's just it's a cool thing.
Yeah, I am the least risk taker that I know. So I'm not bungee jumping.
No,
I'm not skydiving. I don't even like going, scuba diving. I'm not swimming with the sharks.
Yeah. I would do that for sure.
So, I don't even go on roller coasters. So
Really?
I thought you were going to say
never been.
rollerblades.
You don't even go on what, sorry?
I thought you were going to say rollerblades.
Well, I mean, I could rock a rollerblade. You get me in some neon spandex, you better watch out.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm not curious. But it's amazing to me how you have that thing with the Titanic, and in my family, my dad was just obsessed with the JFK assassination.
Oh yeah.
So I grew up with that, and I've kind of always had this kind of curious research. Kind of thing about the JFK assassination. Everyone always has these little pockets in their family which they're interested in, and that's interesting to me.
Yeah. So what does Pops think? Like what happened there? Like was there a third shooter? Is it third?
Well, it was Lee Harvey Oswald, right? He was number one.
Yeah.
Yeah. The theory is that like it's an impossibility for one man from that distance,
right,
in that amount of seconds.
Yeah. And the way
that many shots off.
Yes. Yeah. And the bullet trajectory or whatever.
We just hit 60 years on that the other day.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Crazy.
And he didn't really he just knew something was up with it.
Right.
And he was 12 years old when that happened. So
yeah.
He just had a bit of an obsession with it.
Yeah.
So he had books that he gave to me, and I still, and I've watched all the movies and the documentaries. It's just wild to think about these things and how obvious that there's something not right there.
Yeah. Just like covering something up. Yeah. And so the JFK assassination has been his only and it's been the longest and consistent. Like I'm like ADD with that kind of stuff. Like I get on tangents and I can't watch enough of something. Yeah. Like lately it's been Everest.
Oh.
And just, the fact that there's hundreds of dead bodies up there, and people trying to climb and, the way of going up and how you can get caught in storms and thinking about what the motivation is to go up there. And it's really just so you say you did it. But I mean, the odds of you coming back down are not good,
Yeah, no, I'm not taking that risk at all.
Yeah, exactly. And I wouldn't either, but it's just a lot of people do. And but anyway, that's why I asked is because I always hop from topic to topic.
Yeah,
and
there's a lot
stayed
of,
on it, for dad stayed.
I know some people are just obsessed with the whole alien culture of trying to discover, what's really going on out there. But people get these little obsessions.
I don't really want to know.
No,
not about that kind of stuff, right?
No, I'm
stuff
not
that's tangible, and then that I can kind of really wrap my head around, what's going on at the bottom of the ocean. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
If there's weird and freaky shit out there, I don't really know if I want to know, right?
Yeah.
That's fair.
I'm kind of okay not knowing what's going on out there. I'm sure that there's something, but
oh, there's something. I mean, you think about that.
There's something.
Oh, there's something out there. There's got to be. Well, you think about how much we've explored and compared to the size of the galaxy.
Sure.
I mean, there's something somewhere. It's just either
we can't be the only intelligent life.
No,
right?
So. Either it's too far away for us to discover, or the other theory is that they whoever is out there knows about us and they don't want anything to do with us because we're to them, we're like ants crawling around an anthill.
Yeah.
I mean, you provide us no value. There's nothing to.
No,
the big question when I was coming, or I guess with some of my friends, was do you believe in ghosts more than aliens or vice versa? And to me, I believe there's probably, it's just pure probability there's aliens out there.
Yeah.
If we can live on this planet, there's got to be in a galaxy somewhere, a planet that has life.
Yeah.
Something out there.
The odds of it.
But I don't believe in ghosts.
No.
That was my thing now.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I agree with you on that.
Till I see a reason to.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a good would you rather question right there.
We're hitting a lot of subjects here today.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, it's awesome.
That's what I got.
Yeah, that's what you got?
Right on.
Right on. Okay, Jason, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, it was a pleasure.
We're going to, producer Jay and I are going to knock down the door at Dutch one day and demand a tour and see what you're up to over there.
Yeah, it'd be great. Well, if you give us about 6 months here, we should have a shell up and the floor in that new building, and we can kind of give you guys a little better idea what it's going to feel like. So
we'll wait till it's nice and warm out.
Yeah, warm is good.
Right on. Thanks again, Jason.
Okay,
Really appreciate
awesome.
it.
Appreciate it. You guys having me on.
Thanks.